Carol Roth is in town. We have a kind of a financial kind of meeting or something today, and you're in town for that. And welcome as always, Carol.
Thanks. It's fun to be in studio with you.
So, Carol, I just said to Senator Johnson from Wisconsin that I feel like we're on the Titanic, and now we've hit the iceberg at full speed. And I'm looking for a band to stop playing so people can go, oh, wait, what just happened? And it's time to get into the lifeboats because this thing's we got to save what we can and the people we can because we're going to have a lot of rebuilding to do.
Yeah, and it's the people who put us on course to hit the iceberg.
Wait. You don't agree with my analogy, do you?
No, I do agree.
Oh.
I'm very, very sorry.
Like that.
I know. You want me to tell you that everything is going to be okay.
Plan the iceberg.
We're going to be on a mega yacht instead of the Titanic, and it's just not the case. But it is these people who said, oh, that iceberg isn't there. No, we can totally maneuver our way around it. These are the people who said, no, okay, so it was there and maybe we hit it, but that was some other reason. We didn't, it wasn't actually there when we saw it. But now we've got all of these great ideas on how to fix the economy.
Oh my gosh, and none of them are good ideas. Let me ask you this. Let's say you're the head of the Treasury or you're the head of the Fed.
Lord help everyone,
I know.
But yes.
Yeah, I think we'd be better off. Oh,
you would.
Even
you
if
would
it,
be.
Yeah,
you would be.
Even if it was just me, you know what I mean? You'd be like, yeah, well, better than these clowns.
Some guy off the street.
Yeah,
right?
Anybody off the street. You don't know what your name is. Come here. You're now the head of the Fed. If you were the head of the Fed, and this is the iceberg part, how do you stop this from going down? Because you have to raise interest rates traditionally to pull money back in, but these interest rates would have to be 30% easy. Don't you agree to pull this kind of money back in? We were at 20 in Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So first of all, if I were Fed chair, I'd blow up the entire Fed powers and I'd say we're gonna put myself out of a job at some point in time. But in terms of the problem at hand,
okay, so wait. Let me give this so the audience understands. Inflation goes down when you suck money back out of the system. That's the theory, and that's the way it's always worked. Hang on, I know what you're thinking. And the other problem is you can only make interest rates go so high before it sucks the money out that is needed to run the economy. So half the country is saying, we got to have higher interest rates. The other half of the country is saying, no, we got to lower the interest rates. I don't know what to do except just freeze.
So let me put this in layman's terms. You're talking about this battle between inflation and putting us into a very deep recession. Not that we're not already in a recession, which some of the people like to pretend that we're not, but a very deep recession, and those two things are at odds with each other.
Borderline depression. I mean, depression really is kind of defined by the unemployment being very, very high.
Right. And and duration, right? The length of how deep and how long this goes. But there's another factor in here, which is because we are the world reserve currency, it's something called the Triffin dilemma. So not only domestically are we at odds, inflation versus recession, but on a global, from a global standpoint, you're at odds. Do you make decisions for the benefit of the U.S., which I'm not sure that we can, but let's just pretend that maybe we can, or for the world, because the world is on the precipice of a massive global recession that could cause all kinds of reverberations here. So this is the massive puzzle that these central planners, again, have created because they thought like, oh, we can figure this out, but they don't realize they aren't smart enough to figure out all these moving parts. So as Fed chair, I need to slow the Titanic down so that we can get people, as we talked about offline, into the lifeboats. versus not crashing into the iceberg, because that's just not possible at this point in time.
It's not possible to save the Titanic.
Yeah, I personally don't think that it's possible. Everyone's just like, oh, there's a very narrow path. Okay, well, the path is like, as narrow as like one of my hairs. Like there's no narrow path. So let's just be honest about it.
The time to do something really was before 2008. Once we went down the path of bailing everybody out, this is the inevitable outcome. And everybody, at the Fed and all the experts and all the banking people, they all said, no, you don't understand. And I kept saying to them, I do understand. I don't think you're either telling the truth to yourself or you're just a crazy man, because you can't do this at the numbers that we're doing it.
Yeah, and the thing is that not only should they have not done what they did then, they shouldn't have kept it in place for as long as they have, and they shouldn't have doubled down. And that's the problem, is that we keep having these opportunities to go, yes, we've made mistakes and we're going to change course.
No, we don't.
But instead, everyone goes, no, I think this is fine. We're going to continue marching down. Or I'm not seeing the problem in the way that other people are anticipating seeing the problem. So since they're not recognizing it, we have some more room to just continue on until they wake up and realize that it's a problem. Once you wake up and realize that the problem's there, then it becomes too late, and we're in the situation that we're in today.
So Monday, I did a monologue on Credit Suisse, and I said, you're going to see in 2 years, because the Fed doesn't have to tell you anything for 2 years, but I guarantee you we are sending our money over to Credit Suisse right now to do basically what we did in 2008, save the bank that's too big to fail. Well, I don't know why they released this information, but last night I'm reading we sent three billion. How much did we send?
I don't know, but I doubt it was 3 trillion.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Could you look that up? Look that up for
3
me.
trillion.
That would be
staggering. Bad. It's a staggering amount.
But let me tell you why they did that is because the Swiss National Bank said that Credit Suisse is a systemically important bank.
Correct.
So of course that they are too big to fail. We can't bail out the little guys. We have to make sure that the big cronies are taken care of. So of course somebody was going to come to the rescue. And when you say somebody, it's always
us.
The U.S. And it's not the U.S. It's you and you and you and you. It's literally us because it's our money, or them printing money, which devalues our money.
So isn't Europe now in the place, or soon going to be in the place, that we were at in 2008?
So it's for a different reason.
Right.
But again, and this goes back to the Fed. So let's tie this all in a nice little bow. Because we have a dollar that is strong against other currencies. It's not strong when you go to the grocery store, but it is strong against these other currencies out there. I like to call it the skinniest kid at fat camp. Mm-hmm. It's not great, but it's the best out of all of them. And because of the energy situation that they have all created, they're dependent on importing energy. Energy, and to some extent food, is priced in dollars, which means these countries need to access dollars in order to pay for these things. So they only have so many choices. It means they either continue to devalue their currency, they're going to have to spend more and more of their currency to buy dollars, or they sell dollar-denominated assets like treasuries in order to get the dollars to pay. And so this is a vicious cycle. When they do that, then the yields go up, the dollar strengthens, and we end up in this crazy cycle again. And this is why it's so complicated. The Fed's decision isn't just inflation versus, a deeper recession here in the U.S. It's literally potentially creating a global currency crisis. It's potentially creating illiquidity in the treasury market and a crisis there. It's potentially, all risk assets could end up just, being sold in a massive fire sale. I mean, they have to think through all of those implications. And that's why if I were Fed chair right now, where we started this, I would have to pause, because I don't think that the Fed has the tools to combat inflation since their supply generated anyway. They can't print oil. They can't print labor. They don't have the tools. So all they can do is crash demand. And if they do, they take the whole world down with them.
Okay, well, I think I'm going home now. All right, more in just a second with Carol Roth. Can you explain one thing? I saw an article out of Europe, and it said that because there are no investors because of ESG,
right?
There's no investors in exploring for oil, et cetera, and the fact that we are headed towards price destruction, meaning nobody can afford to do anything, so nobody's going to be using gas, and you're going to be staying at home, so the price of gas will fall through the floor, they think. Then the banks will have, or any investors will have a call on their investment, and they won't have the money to be able to do it. So they're stuck in this same kind of trap where it's this vicious circle. Is that true? Is that right?
So there is a case to be made that, as we kind of go into a global recession, like a very deep global recession, that there will be demand destruction. But you have to remember that we just had OPEC Plus decide to cut production 2 million barrels per day. So, and China is still kind of getting back and running, in terms of capacity. So I don't think that oil and gas are going to go back up to the levels that, perhaps we saw earlier this year. But the idea that it's all going to come crashing down. I mean, yes, Europe's, stockpiled on gas, but it's like a 3-month stockpile. Like, what happens after that? This issue that we have with energy, this isn't like a month-long or a winter-long issue, and all of a sudden we're going to come out the other side and everything's going to be roses. There's massive underinvestment that's going to affect us for years.
So it's not just that you can turn this spigot back on. I know, when you think of these big oil rigs that are out in the middle of the Gulf, those things are made here, a lot of them. But they have specialized parts that like one company makes. Those things are on leases for 10 years at least. So if it pulls up here and goes some other place, South America, that's leased. And you don't just build an oil rig like that overnight. We're talking years of restarting.
This sounds really familiar. It sounds like in 2020 when a bunch of people said, wait, you can't just turn off a third of the economy and then turn it back on whenever you want, and there's going to be absolutely no dislocation. That's weird. It's the same thing here. You're losing the parts manufacturers. You're losing, in the case of nuclear, a knowledge base, specialized expertise. You cannot just flip the switch back on. And there's no meaningful sort of rush towards investment because all of these companies believe that, whoever the next regime is, even if there's a friendly one in between, that they're just going to double down on these bad policies. So why would they make a 10-year or a 15-year multi-billion-dollar investment when people are coming out saying, we're coming after you?
Yep.
It does, show me the incentive. I will show you the outcome. That is Charlie Munger, and it's for every single thing. And in terms of energy, this is not just the next few months. This is a multi-year disaster with massive human suffering. I mean, we're talking about already in Europe, just the implications, not just on heating your homes, but on the food sector, bakeries, dairy, companies that massively use energy. They're not able to produce at the levels that they could because the energy is too
expensive.
Yeah. Farms. Fertilizer.
Yeah.
This is what happened in Sri Lanka, right?
This is craziness. It is craziness. There is such and I can only, it's Malthusian. You have to hate humankind to go down this road because it's so clear what the ramifications are. And if you stop right now and go, okay, all right, I got it, then, that's one thing.
Right.
But to stay singly focused on this and continue while people are going to face starvation and freezing to death, there's something deeply, deeply wrong with you.
So we've talked about this. This is what the Fed did, right? They stayed with that myopia. Mm-hmm. Same thing with COVID. Now we have it with energy.